Well, first, thank you very much for the interview and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here in Korea. I think the South Korean financial system is very strong and is very well regarded worldwide. I mean, definitely it echoes the strength of Korea, and it really is impressive to see how much the financial system of Korea has progressed since the Second World War. I think the way to judge the Korean banking and financial system is how much has it contributed to the development of Korea. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the main function of a financial system. And we have seen the marvelous and fabulous development in Korea, all these leadership positions that it has acquired, like in chips, like in appliances, like in cars, like in shipping, even in AI. It has a whole package of a support financially, and a lot of it comes from the financial system, from the banking system, also for the public banks. No, I mean, also through time, the roles of the different players have been evolving. But I think in that sense, it is very highly regarded. I mean, if you compare one country with another, you want to see how much does the banking system contribute to the development and to the growth and so on. And we see that that has been very positive in the case of Korea. Now, there are different ways to judge a financial system. I understand that many of you are looking into how international it is, the financial system. It's not, it is important, it is relevant, but it's not that relevant, and certainly is not this sector as relevant as others internationally. But that shouldn't be considered as a negative for the case of Korea. I think Korea just decided for a different development path, for a different role for the financial system. And if you take that as a benchmark to evaluate the financial system, it's doing very well and it's extremely highly regarded. Well, AI would be one of many different instruments. I mean, the strategy by itself would have to be far more comprehensive. I mean, the first one is just to see if really it is as profitable as it is today, use financial resources for the development of Korea to invest them abroad. Now, if you are going to be investing abroad or capturing deposits from abroad, you have to make this work. And now for that you depend also on what the foreigners want. And then you need to have the ability to provide that. Now, part of that could be facilitated by AI, but it's not the only instrument. I would say AI would help you to do things easier in a more efficient way. But for example, how close can you be from your client if you are a Korean and you're speaking with somebody elsewhere? How can you bridge that gap? It might be useful, but at the same time, you see that international banking, international business is a very long-term relationship. And you need that time to develop the confidence and the trust among players. And I think that's a path that Korea still has to go through. So it will take some time. AI would be definitely a positive element, but I would not expect a big bang out of AI in terms of its impact on the internationalization of the banking system. I have to say that many emerging markets have both emerging market and advanced economies have some elements of the Korean banking system. I mean, I think that the Korean banking system has two strong pillars. One is the the commercial banking system, and the other is the public banking systems and the development agencies. No, both plays a very important role. Now, what I think is quite unique in the case of Korea is the fact that the activities of both are directed primarily in a very well coordinated fashion by a national development strategy. It brings consistency to the whole exercise. And I think that consistency is something that you don't see necessarily elsewhere. In that way, it is different than in other countries. In other countries, you have the same, you have commercial banks, and then you have public banks. But the coordination is not as strong and in the same form as it takes place here. Now, at some point, I would like to see probably more evolution of the Korean public banking system. I think that they should operate more through the commercial banking system, and to have, I would say, to slowly allow for more decision making of who to support to the commercial banking system or to the market, rather than so much directed by a central policy. I think at some point those developments would be of the interest of Korea. Well, I mean, definitely the crisis, they always have an important impact on the financial system, and it affects its policy. But I don't think it didn't affect its direction, it didn't affect the main objectives of the system. It more than anything affected the regulation and I would say, the risk-taking attitude of many commercial banks. And that was reflected in stronger regulation and supervision, which, by the way, I think it's good. I think you have a very strongly regulated financial system, very well supervised, and it's very solid, and I think that allows you for the sector to perform well. Well, I think those shocks, what they introduce is a lot of volatility. Interest rates vary a lot, exchange rate vary a lot, the finances of the companies, the sales of some Korean companies abroad might be affected. Others might be supported a lot by, for example, chips. But at the end of the day, what you need is to have a stronger system so that it can absorb all this volatility. And I think to have a resilient, well-capitalized, well-managed financial system gives you resiliency to face all these shocks coming from abroad. Well, I definitely think a more or a worsening of the oil crisis. I mean, you have a very oil-dependent economy. Even, for example, if AI could be affected by the oil crisis, you know, because AI is very intensive in electricity. Yeah, and also, you know, it depends also a lot on minerals and gases that comes from that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. If that supplies are affected, it could affect the very vital sectors here in the Korean economy. I think both AI and humans need to interact, and I still believe that there should be some direction by humans to AI. But therefore you need to know how to use the instrument. At the end of the day, AI is an instrument. so I think for that is very, very important to have the appropriate attitude, the appropriate setup to see how can you maximize the use of AI. Yeah, I mean, definitely there are many different sectors in which AI is impacting and will impact the financial system. I mean, for example, in identifying the client, in know your client, in all the controls that are needed, for example, for anti-money laundering and combating of financing of terrorism. I think it would be easier. I mean, at the end of the day, decision making depends on how do you process information. So the gathering and analysis of information can facilitate the banks present better offers to their clients. I think also it should help eventually with the payment systems, what now it's called agentic payments, where when certain commercial decisions are taken by an individual or a firm, that then the payments, for example, are made automatically. So in terms of the efficiency, it would be great. The other is, for example, in facilitating the settlements of transactions. Today, for example, the systems are such that it takes a long time for certain transactions to settle. Now, if you have a tokenized financial system made efficient through AI, you can make the settlement far more efficient. And finally, I think hopefully it will reduce a lot the friction between the regulator and the banks by the fact that the regulator would have more access to the balance sheet of the institutions, and it could analyze far more efficiently without being so disruptive the role of the regulator in the operation of the institution. It could be a more seamless regulation or supervisory effort, and more transparent and more efficient and more timely. I mean, for example, today, many financial institutions spend a lot of time and a lot of money just preparing the information for sending reports to the regulator. If everything can be done online by...
So through the agentic.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it will go automatic.
Yeah, exactly. It would be far less intrusive, and it would reduce a lot the costs of supervision and regulation. Well, it's an open question. I mean, how much AI will displace humans? It's a key question. How much AI will make them more productive and in that way generate more income? That would be another possibility, and certainly it will happen. But what dominates in one direction or another is what will make everything clearer in the future. I mean, definitely the impact of AI on how much labor is being employed is a key question for the future, and we just don't have the answer. No, we know that there will be some displacement. We know that other forms of employment will be created, and we also know that some traditional employments will be made more productive. But what's the end result is what is difficult to anticipate. Well, let me say that Korea could not have found a better person to substitute Governor Rhee. It's very good for Korea to have had a very strong governor like Governor Rhee, and have a very strong follower. I think that Mr. Hyun will be able to build on all what Governor Rhee has made. I think Mr. Hyun has a mixture of characteristics that is very unique. I mean, he knows very well Korea economy and Korea financial system. He knows, he's an expert in macroeconomics and in finance. Given that the BIS is an international organization, it knows very well the connections between Korea and the rest of the world. It can assess very well the shocks that the world and financial system is experiencing and to assess how it could affect the Korean economy. And then the other thing, he's a world-leading expert in the impact of technological change on the financial system. Through the BIS, we have done a lot of work in the tokenization of the economy, in the creation of central bank digital currency, and the impact of AI in the economy. And he's a real expert on that. So I'm sure that he will bring a lot of dynamism or continuation of the dynamism of what the Central Bank of Korea has started to do in terms of digitizing the financial system and the role of the central bank. So I'm extremely happy for Korea, and of course I'm extremely happy for Mr. Hyun, because I think it's a great opportunity for him, but also I think will be tremendously successful in his capabilities of helping Korea's economy.
Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
재미있게 보셨다면 구독, 좋아요, 알림 설정까지 꼭 눌러주세요.